Alright. Alright, everyone. We're going to talk about goals and a couple evidence-based strategies to make it more likely that we do them and we feel good while we're doing them. So, well, what is a goal? I think, broadly speaking, a goal is an intention to do something, right? You say you're going to do something and you want to do it. Hopefully, you end up doing it. And I think generally speaking, we set goals that we think will be good for us, either in the short term, it'll be enjoyable, or it'll be beneficial for us in the long term. And one of the mistakes that I think we often make when we're setting goals is the goals aren't specific or they're not measurable. And we don't really know if we've accomplished them sometimes. We might think very vague goals. So there's a couple acronyms that I find useful. One of which is the idea of Vapid Goals, which is an idea that, or an acronym that I took from Randy Patterson, who wrote 40 Ways to be Miserable. So, a vapid goal is vague, amorphous, pie in the sky, irrelevant, and delayed. And one of the examples that he uses, which I think is very on point and resonated with me, is the idea of, or the example of cleaning your entire house. So, say you set a goal, I'm going to clean my house sometime next week. So, I mean, what you're saying with this is, well, you're going to clean your whole house sometime next week. But what would that mean? How would you know if you cleaned your whole house? What time next week are you going to clean, right? It's kind of vague. It doesn't really motivate action. You don't know if you're finished. You're probably not going to get much of a sense of accomplishment if you can't actually see that you've moving towards or accomplished the goal itself. So a huge part of the reason we experience positive emotion in the positive emotion system evolves so that we pursue things, right? And we feel a hit of enjoyment or accomplishment, and then usually we are kind of on to the next thing, which is a concept known as hedonic adaptation that we've talked about when talking about well-being and happiness generally. So one of the strategies that has been researched for a variety of behaviors for goal setting is the idea of SMART goals. And some people use the letters for slightly different things, but generally speaking, there's an agreement as to what some of the primary components are. So SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And again, there are some slight variations on how people define this. I think this one's particularly useful. So, specific would mean, well, you know what you're doing, right? So specific might be, in the context of cleaning your house, I'm going to dust my desk. I mean, I guess you could go, infinitely down the path of, well, what does it mean to dust something? But generally speaking, if you've gone around the desk, right, and removed the dust, effectively, then the dust is gone. So that's specific. It's measurable. I mean, I think with more specific examples like exercise, if we're saying, let's also use that as kind of another example. Let's say, rather than saying like, I'm going to exercise more, that could be, I'm going to do 10 push-ups, right? That's the specificity. It's measurable. And then the time-bound component is at, say, 6 p.m. tomorrow. You could even say in my basement or at the gym. So I'm going to dust my desk at 10 a.m. Saturday, means after breakfast. So what these really do is you know if you've done them or not, right? You know if you've dusted your desk or if you've done 10 push-ups. You can check it off your list. You can get kind of, hit a dopamine, feel accomplished. And it's something that you've done, right? You can see the goal, you can measure the goal. Attainable just means, is it reasonable to attain? So again, that can be kind of subjective, but if you've never ran a 5K, setting a goal for a marathon might be a good long-term goal. But in the short term, you want to have things that you can do within reason. The time-bound component, again, is putting some time stamp to it, so you can actually see it on your schedule and organize your day around it or your week. Relevant means relevant to your values. Or relevant to your life, or to who you want to be, what you want to get in your life. So if you value health and value having more energy and being fit, the push-ups is very relevant. If you value keeping your house clean and cleanliness and maybe avoiding illness or having a tidy space, the cleaning is relevant. So this isn't necessarily always possible because we have to do a lot of chores and a lot of things that we might not find particularly relevant, but there's some reason that we need to do them. Sometimes it's very external to ourselves, and ideally, goals that are intrinsically motivating we're more likely to do them. We'll feel more energized when we do them. But of course, there'll be things that can feel irrelevant. So this has been exceptionally helpful for me in starting new habits in particular, and just having a outline for my day to some extent, like knowing the main things that I have to do. Turo pops in and says I'm going way too fast, so I appreciate the feedback. What's up, Turo? Yeah, I do have a tendency to go very quickly when I am teaching, and I'm also very excited to play Mario. So I think that is also leading to my speed. But how are you doing? How's your week been? I'm happy it's Friday myself. Yeah, so for people who are popping in, we're talking about the idea of how can we set goals so that we're more likely to do them, they're more meaningful, we derive more pleasure from them, more sense of achievement, and the acronym I'm going over is the idea of SMART goals. So goals are specific, meaning, what specifically what are you going to do? Like when you say you clean your house, the example is dusting your desk. Measurable, something that you actually know if you did. Attainable, within reason you can accomplish it. Relevant to your life, to your values, to a bigger goal that you have. And time bound, so actually putting some rough time stamp on it so you have a sense of when you'll do it and you can work it into your schedule. You're right. Yeah, arrived to a screen full of text. Yeah, what I usually do with these videos is I start as if I'm going to just make it into a YouTube segment, and then I interact with chat as people pop in, which I kind of like because then I can make it a segment regardless of how active chat is, and if people are in chat and talkative, then I can also make it interactive too. So that's the overview of the idea of SMART goals, and I think it is important to realize when we're setting those vapid goals or setting goals that are broad and don't really motivate action or hold us accountable. Like just saying you're going to do something more, or clean your house more, or maybe like those can be good starting points. Like you might say I want to get a degree. or a new job. That's a good starting point, but those can be places to branch into more specific and tangible goals. All right, so those are SMART goals. And then one more concept that is very useful, I think, in goal setting is an acronym. I think the psychologist's name is Gabrielle Oettinger, who made this acronym called WOOP. I might have said her name wrong, but you can just Google WOOP. And this synthesizes, I have quite a lisp, as you can see, synthesizes two concepts that were researched heavily and kind of brings them together. So the two concepts in behavior change literature were called mental contrasting and implementation intention. So the implementation intention is anticipating an obstacle and planning for it. So that's the P, plan. Mental contrasting is a fancy way of saying contrasting things in your head, basically. Contrasting something, obstacles as well to your goal in your head. So the full acronym is WISH, outcome, outcome, obstacle, and plan. So the WISH is, well, there's also kind of a visualization piece in this too. So the WISH is the process of visualizing the goal. So that's some of the kind of like emotionally getting in touch with it, seeing yourself accomplishing it. I mean, so we can use the exercise example. So let's say we're trying to exercise more, and our goal is to, go to the gym at 6 o'clock after work or something. So visualizing it could be actually seeing it, like visualizing how we feel after we work out, or visualizing how we might look, or how we might feel, how much energy we might have. And then the outcome is actually the process of writing down the positive outcome and writing down the reasons that we want to do the thing or what we might get from the goal. So for exercising, we might visualize and then write out, have more energy, and really get in touch with that and visualize it and see yourself with more energy. You could even say have more energy to spend time with friends, to read, to cook, to study, to do whoop. I'm cutting that off. To study, to do well at work, etc. So that's the process of visualizing the goal, connecting with why you want the goal to happen, why it would be good for you. And then the obstacle is imagining and writing down obstacles. So, and that's the mental contrasting piece. So if your goal is to exercise more at 6 o'clock, you can think of things that might usually stop you. So that might be a TV show at 6. That might be a friend texting you. That might be feeling unmotivated. That might be social media might distract you. That might be being too hungry. And you can look at each of these and say, well, that's the plan part, what you will do. So before we go specifically into the like planning around obstacles, the reason that this is effective, we think, and again, it's been demonstrated to be effective in a variety of settings, from work environments to health goals. Um, when you visualize something that you want, you connect with why it's important to you, what you'll get from it, and then you start imagining the obstacles. What you're doing is you're framing things that aren't the goal, that are likely to come up or often come up, as obstacles. So you make that association of, you think of the gym, or you're on your way to the gym, and then maybe you get a thought that, I'm too hungry, I might just go to McDonald's, or I might just go home, or I just want to check, like, sit on Facebook or TikTok or something. You have that association of, okay, well, those distractions are just that, distractions from the goal. So it's making it, I guess, more motivationally relevant, the goal, because you have the good things in mind and you contrast it with the things that might be getting in the way. And then the planning part is, in advance, making the plan of what you're going to tell yourself or how you'll navigate those things. So, I mean, TV show at 6, you can just, not going home is a way to avoid that. But I think you can remind yourself of the positives of the goal in all of these situations. But if a friend texts you, you can, or I guess if a friend texts you or calls you, or maybe you have messages on a dating app, or Facebook, or emails or something, you can set a time to do later. You can respond to maybe one message instead of all of them. You can not check your phone when you get there. With hunger, you might plan a snack at the end of work or right before, like a filling snack. You might say, well, can I work out when I'm hungry? You might have that narrative in your head, I can't work out when I'm hungry, and then you might find you do it and you're fine. And then, like, feelings of not being motivated. Some people, say just kind of push through it, use willpower. And to some extent that works, but with habit change and behavior change, what's really a lot more effective is finding ways to, change your mindset or put things in place so you're more motivated. So that might be telling yourself the things that have been positive about it. It might be rewarding yourself when you get home, saying, if I work out, then I'll be able to watch X TV show or have X snack or talk to a person that I enjoy talking to. So kind of putting these together, I just think of it as, it's a way of increasing the odds that you're motivated to do something and that you follow through with it. Because when you put both of them together and you have specific goals that are measurable, that are meaningful to you, you see what you're going to get out of them, you see what the obstacles are, and you have a plan in advance. All of that is working in your favor to commit to whatever it is that you want to be doing. And a huge part of well-being and happiness is setting and achieving your goals. That's a huge part, I think, of being human. There's something to be said, right, of, all who wander are not lost, and just kind of being in the moment and enjoying things as they come. But I do think that having long-term goals and breaking them into sub-goals and consistently finding how you can do them is a big part of living a healthy and fulfilled life. So at another point, I definitely want to do a stream that goes more into habits and the difference between goals and habits. The short version is, I think habits are things that you do repeatedly, often at the same time or in the same context, that have a minimal amount of thought before or while you're engaging them. And goals are things you kind of set out ahead of time. I think you can make a goal to make something a habit, but that's something that I want to go into detail at another time. So those are the two big concepts in behavior change that have been shown to be effective. It's the SMART goals in WOOP. Thank you, Taro, for making me aware of my pace, because I even noticed as I shifted, I was like, wow, I was talking really fast. So I am Sapien on Twitch and Mind Bobby Connection on YouTube. I am 10 followers away on Twitch from getting affiliate, which is exciting. I appreciate any and all follows and all support that everyone gives, and I hope you find this useful. So everyone, have a nice evening, night, morning, whatever you might be doing, and be well.